Dearest beloved divine friends and families, brothers and sisters in Guyana, in the diaspora, in the Caribbean, and around the world. Your brother, your friend, me, Haji, Dr. Rushan Khan, on In the Raw. Today, Sunday, September 13th. I missed recording quite a few of Freddie Kissoon and other important events and columns, and because of a lot of things being done and so on. I wish to state at this point, ladies and gentlemen, as you're aware, Mr. Harman has been calling for my resignation and possible destruction, and has been trying to damage me in every way. But I tell you what, Mr. Harman is not my enemy. No political entity or party is my enemy. As a commentator and a mere reader of articles, I know that my words are bothering him and certain people in his party. But the fact remains, nobody is my enemy. As a commentator, it is my duty to bring information, and as also a security operative, for me to tell people how to protect themselves, whether you are Indians or indigenous or Africans or Chinese. If you are under attack, I will give you simple ideas how to protect yourself and how to even create a warning signal system using pots, pans, the very way I will tell you to defend yourself. Prepare a group of people, a protective group, and protect yourself. I will never tell you weapons that could hurt and kill. I will tell you items that you can use to legally defend yourself that is allowed by law. For example, I'm talking about baton and a piece of stick, a little piece of stick, a whip or something of that sort, to just keep people at bay if you feel you're under attack. But remember also, if you're Indians or whatever, and you feel you're being attacked, any people, Africans, Chinese, anybody who feels they're under attack, they need to protect themselves, and even the minority in their grouping. It's an Islamic concept, and a concept in any religion, that people have a right to protect themselves, and you protect the minority of your people as well. If you are more in the majority, whatever race you are, you don't harass the minority. They are also part of your family. So if it's Indo-Guyanese, and you have some indigenous or Chinese or Africans in your community, you must protect them, because they have become your family. This is how it is in the country area in particular, mostly the country areas. And this is what I was talking about in West Coast Bobbies and so on. Anyone who feel that they've been targeted, their house being burnt, their wives being beaten. It is being alleged that some women were raped, but they're not talking about it because they're looking at their honor, they're looking at their dignity, and so they stay quiet. They were otherwise harassed. People were chopped. People were beaten, people were robbed, their truck burned down. So who is it that were getting these terror and these threats and these harassment and fear put into them? Who were being run and punched in the bus countless times? Whose truck was burned down? Whose lumberyard was burned down? Whose house was burned down? So I'm addressing those people to form a small or a protective body called a security group for security purpose. In other words, a protective group. Equip yourself with a baton, equip yourself with a piece of stick, protect your minority, but do not be aggressive. Do not be aggressive. The Quran says so. Fight. I'm not even telling the people to fight. I'm not telling anybody to retaliate, because that's not what we want. We don't want this thing to grow out. But you must be able to protect yourself. But the Quran tells you, fight. Fight those who fight against you, but do not exceed the limits. If they incline to peace, you should incline to peace. I'm putting it a bit different. You should incline to peace, to inspire them to incline to peace. But at the same time, form your group to protect yourself. Our Prophet also told us, in whatever life circumstances, to tie your camel. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to excuse me because I've just finished my exercise, my morning exercise, and I might be producing some perspiration, and I'm encouraging one and all to stay healthy. Let us remember, this is our country. Whatever ethnicity or races we belong to, we always have to learn to cooperate and help each other and support and protect each other. It is unfortunate that the leader of the opposition went up there and told the people that their response was right and they need to set up groups and bodies to protect themselves. So this is, and also Mr. Granger did the same thing. And they're trying to use the media and some persons at ERC to put me down for saying basically the same thing but in a more humane manner, to protect yourselves. All right? So never be aggressors. So, friends and family, that is the prelude to my point I want to give you here this morning. And I want to read you, after a long time, my friend Freddie Kissoon and his observation. The topic is Claudette Singh, the 2020 election and the Region 5 mayhem. It was bound to happen. The PNC, not so much the AFC, since it hasn't got constituencies, for 5 months sermonized their supporters with the song of being cheated in a PPP manipulated election. What I was disappointed also is when Mr. Harman, leader of the opposition and member of parliament, went into Bobby and telling the people we have been cheated. You have an illegal government. That is incitement. And that is what the ERC and the police need to look at. And when Mr. Sherrod Duncan and Christopher Jones were there the first night, instead of telling the people to be calm, let the police do their work, they were instigating them very smartly, and I think that could go as an international crime against humanity for trying to influence people. Man, you guys have a voice, you have a media. Spread love and joy as I'm trying to do, and stop looking at one word that I might have used to describe a people. Remember, no title, no race, no people are obnoxious. So you are behaving as if I say Indians, if you feel you're under attack, form a protective group. That is as if the word Indian is an obnoxious word. And this is looking bad also for the Ethnic Relations Commission to allow themselves to be manipulated by certain politicians who are trying to use this to take pressure off their back to attack and to target me. And the ERC is also under attack for being a group that sends out messages to the media. Press releases, press releases, press releases. And nothing substantial was sent out, or any press release or anything on a former president who went out there and said such terrible things. I'm disappointed with the man because I like the guy myself. It does not mean because I've become a member of the commission that I lose my right to speak. Once you don't speak illegalities, dishonesties, and you don't encourage atrocities. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the article. After burying their supporters in a nightmare of torrential hallucinations, they themselves were overcome by a vendetta instinct, looking for an instinct for vengeance from them because they lost the election. They simply used a mundane incident of homicide to do two things: satisfy their lacerated psyche, it means their destructive minds, for those who don't understand, by creating bestial mayhem, animalistic destruction, technically he's saying, and instilling in their constituencies that they must fight to destabilize a government that is not legal. So in other words, use all your bestial, your animal instincts, and a simple thing like, well, it's a nasty murder. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a nasty murder, which shows you that it wasn't an ordinary murder for coconut. There was so much more to it. But to use that homicide and the instinct instilled in the people that they lost an election to try and bring down the government. Let's go on. There is direct connection between the length of time the rigging was allowed to go on, 5 months, and the PNC's opportunity to use Region 5 double homicide as incitement of race hate. So that 5 months was used to educate and train some of their people into misbehavior. And then that situation that transpired to create race hate, ladies and gentlemen. So who should be brought before the ERC? Who should the police invite and investigate? Who should the RSS, the Regional Security System, or the United Nations International Tribunal really investigate? Me or them? I would love to be called by them, by these tribunals. Back to the article. Well, look at what happened in Region 5 and its direct link with the election nightmare. And names come to mind. Claudette Singh heads the list. If she had digested the lessons of Region 5 tragedies, then she should reflect on her own faults in allowing the nastiness to drag out for 5 months. Once bingo, caricature tabulation hit the eyes of the world. Singh and the rest of Guyana should have insisted that it be brought to an end. From March 4th, the PNC, AFC, surrogate, like university lecturers, trade unionists, newspaper columnists in both the Chronicle and the Stabrook News. The Chronicle at that time was controlled by the PNC or the APNUM, particularly by Moses Nagamutu. The 3 PNC commissioners among fed the frustrations of PNC voters and did so for 5 months. So it's printed in their minds, ladies and gentlemen, my commentary, that they were cheated. Back to the article. The moral thing to do was to explain to them that they lost, but they will ensure the PPP govern responsibly and fairly, and for Singh to conduct the business of GCOM in such a way that we would have made it difficult for the PNC and AFC's mischief to spread. Singh did not do this. She acted after 5 months, and in so doing, the genie got out of the bottle. The genie, that jinn or that magician, to create trouble and worries. Back to the article. Whether it was a double homicide in Region 5 or a killing of an African Guyanese in some remote village in Guyana's interior that the average Guyanese never heard about, Harmon Granger and the Freudian degenerates in the AFC had to instigate racial hostilities. And this is why I'm surprised at the AFC. And they will have to be called in too, to my opinion, because they allowed their Sharon Duncan to fan hate, to create hate. And if you listen to his words, we know who live in those areas. We know these are 2 African black boys, and they have been murdered, and there's an X, and we know who caused that, and interviewing people saying the X had to do with vote, and not realizing it has to do with gang warfare, or typically as is used, different kinds of insignia by drug lords and so on. And I'm not saying this is a drug case, but a lot of things has to come out, and I have faith in the police in investigating this, and especially as the CARICOM regional security officers are coming, I feel even better yet, and the police will get some help. But the circumstances determine the magnitude of the conflagration. A heinous murder of an African Guyanese is one of the more obscure parts. Okay, the double homicide fell into the lap of a desperate party frantically looking for something to destabilize Guyana. There are legitimate questions that are now swirling around Georgetown, maybe the entire Guyana. He's saying that, well, this opposition was looking for that. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the length, and I'm not at the office, I'm going to end this here now, and I'll start back immediately, so it will be like in 2 parts.